He's just a regular guy with a cool job that God loves for some reason. Welcome to the Steve Marston Show, a daily journey in learning how to live more like Jesus, conversations with those that God is working through, and dad jokes. It's the most unique show you'll hear today. Now, here's Steve.
All right, welcome in. The Steve Marston Show is back. We are thankful that you're here, and we'd love for you to be a part of the program. Take the phone number down and call us, 888-901-5454. That's 888-901-5454. We are streaming the show live all over the place on video platforms like Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, X, as well as LinkedIn, and the folks over at Rumble have us up as well. So we're happy to be on all of those platforms. We would love to connect with you there as well. So get ready to join the program because we've got a lot of good stuff coming your way. In a little bit, we'll be joined by our friend Vikki Parker to talk about the recent Supreme Court ruling that has to do with pregnancy centers. This was a big deal that came down over the weekend. And I wanted to have Vikki on as someone who is an expert that has run Options Pregnancy Center locations in Central Arkansas for a long time. She knows whereof she speaks, and she's on the front lines of this battle. And so we're going to get some perspective from her about that coming up. But I wanted to get started with this post I came across on X, and it was done by a guy named Clint Temples, or Teeples. Not sure exactly how he pronounces his last name. Now, I don't know Clint. I don't know if he's got good manners. I don't know if he uses his right and left turn indicators. I don't know if he's got a contemporary liberal hairdo.
You got a contemporary liberal hairdo. What in the world is wrong with you?
I don't know anything of those things about Clint. But what I do know is this X post is really good because he starts off with a great hook to really keep you reading. And I want to bring this to you because I think it's so important, especially thinking about when we had John Fuller on yesterday from Focus on the Family, because John brought up the fact that for Christian radio listeners, yes, the overwhelming majority are people who have already given their life to the Lord, who are serving actively in their local church and give to ministries in the whole 9 yards on that. However, there is a percentage, and it's not a small percentage, somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 to 30% of people that are listening to Christian radio at any one time are people who would describe themselves as non-believers, people who don't go to church on the regular, people who maybe don't even own a Bible, people who aren't sure that there really is a God or not. And thinking about all of that and coming across this post, I thought was so good to be able to share for everybody that's listening. Clint starts the post by saying, if I told you there was one free thing that you could do every Sunday that would make your kids happier, healthier, smarter, and closer to you, you'd think I was selling you something. Well, automatically, right off the bat, I think that's a great opening way to get people to continue to read what is a pretty lengthy post. And he gets right to the point. He says, in order to do that, to have your kids happier, healthier, smarter, and closer to you, he says you take them to church regularly. And he says, I don't care if you don't believe. He says the data is so lopsided that skipping it is the parenting equivalent of refusing vegetables just because you don't like the taste. Now, just stop right there. I think that's a powerful statement. When you look at all the data that has come in and kids' behavior and kids' relationships with other people, with other adults, with their parents, those kids that are in church versus those that are not, it is a tremendous difference. And look, no matter where you're at on a faith journey, you want to raise good, strong, healthy, well-adjusted kids. So take them to church. Now, he says there's so many benefits to having your kids in church regularly. And I want to go through some of these because these are all really impactful. The first one he mentions is grades. He says religious teens get A's. I'm sorry. Let me read that again. Words are hard sometimes. Religious teens get A's at almost twice the rate of non-religious teens. In a class of 100, that's a 24 A students instead of 14. Church gives a kid the same academic boost as if he was being born rich instead of being born poor. Wow. Okay. Grades aren't enough. How about this? In college, working class religious kids earn bachelor's degrees at double the rate of their non-religious peers. Middle class kids do it at 1.5 times the rate. For families without a trust fund, this is one of the most powerful forms of upward mobility social scientists have measured. Now just stop and think about that. Of all of the things that help us take that next level and jump up in the social stratosphere, going to church is at the top of the list of all that science has measured. How about this one? Character. This is a big one. Religious teens are far less likely to lie, cheat, or do things they hope their parents will never find out about. They're more likely to care about racial equality, the elderly, and the poor. They reject the idea that morality is whatever works for you in the moment. That kind of kid doesn't happen by accident, Clint says. It's built. These are such facts that I think we take for granted, and we don't really even realize how much benefit it does having your kids in church. Now let's continue with this list. He says closeness. Remember, he mentioned that in the open. 60% of parents of religious teens say that they feel extremely close to their kid compared to 50% of non-religious parents. The kids report the same thing back. They get along better with their parents, talk about the hard stuff, and actually want to spend time with their family. Look, the older your kids get, and I can tell you from experience, the more you want to spend time with them. You know, as we raise them from the little ones to grow up and to have their own identity and to spread their wings, mom and dad's role kind of diminishes. I know, because I've got two that are already adults and I've got one that is 12 years old. And the fact that my older two who are living their own lives, they still want to have a relationship with me and look at me as more of a friend and someone to go for advice to, as well as still being, quote unquote dad, means the world to me. And I think that was what we all want, no matter what your religious beliefs are. You want your kids to want to be around you when they don't have to, right? Okay, how about this one? Despair. Religious teens are dramatically less likely to be depressed, anxious, lonely, or feel like that life is meaningless. 90% of devoted religious teens never binge drink, compared to 41% of the disengaged. Economists named the modern epidemic death of despair. Regular church attendance is one of the strongest known buffers against it. Parents are spending fortunes trying to solve teen mental health. The most evidence-backed intervention is free. Take them to church. This is so interesting to me. We've got much more to talk about in this X post. We'll continue with it when we come back. It's the Steve Marston Show, and we are live on Tuesday. Hope you'll stay where you're at. A little bit of mishandling on the computer there. Welcome back. It's the Steve Marston Show. Those of you that are listening and watching, we appreciate you being live with us on AM 630 The Word in San Antonio, and also there in Little Rock at Faith Talk 99.5. And for those that are listening on radio, if you're just joining us, we're talking about this X post from Clint Teeples, I think is how you pronounce his name. And it's a in-depth survey has been done about the benefits of taking your kids to church regularly. Whether you believe or not, the benefits are just mind-blowing. And I know numbers are hard to follow on the radio. I get that. So I'm trying not to throw as many statistics at you, but they are just unbelievable how much more kids are likely to succeed in not only areas of the kind of things we want them to succeed in, in life and in careers and all of that stuff, but also as people, as just good character citizens. It's just amazing. And we've gone through in the first segment some of these benefits like grades, college, character, closeness, even not despairing. And there's one more that he mentions here called purpose. He says religious young adults report higher purpose, gratitude, life satisfaction, and resilience. And these are the exact traits that every parent wants their kid to have. Yes, it is, 100%, because we want them to know that life is hard and life will knock you down, and the thing you've got to do is to keep getting back up, to understand that there is something bigger and stronger and higher than you are in this universe, and to be thankful, to have that gratitude. That is exactly what I think parents from all walks of life want for their kids. Now, here's kind of tying all of this together. This is why it works, according to Clint. He said, affluent families surround their kids with the networks of stable, accomplished adults through their neighborhoods, schools, and parents' colleagues. Working in middle-class families usually don't. Now, here's the key. A congregation, meaning church, is often the last institution in American life that puts your kid in weekly contact with dozens of stable, employed, sober adults who know their name. It used to be called a village. Now it barely exists outside of churches. And that is so true. I mean, I know of kids that come through our congregation who I know's got terrible home lives, or whose mom and or dad isn't in the picture, and they're living with grandparents, or they're living with a single parent. And for me to come up and acknowledge them by name and to ask how life is for them and to know a little bit about them, man, they just light up, especially if they're in that age range from 8, 9, 10 years old to around 12 or 13. They just find it amazing that somebody outside of their home gives a rip about them. This is such wonderful research that I think we all knew instinctively, but this bears it out. The science is actually proving what we've already always known. And now, Clint goes on to talk about this. As a non-believer, why would I take my kids to church? Well, he says, because your kid doesn't need your theology, they need you to show up. But church is boring, some may say. Well, so is sitting through a kindergarten music recital. It says parents and parenting is the deliberate choice to be bored on purpose for someone that you love. Okay, I get that. That's maybe something that you want to see the parents be a little more engaged in, but that's true. I would give them that. And then he says this: there's a church within 15 minutes of nearly every American home. You don't need money, connections, or credentials to walk in. Nothing else in this country will surround your kid with engaged adults, teach them moral seriousness, and give them a stable weekly rhythm at zero cost. You can't find it anywhere else. You've already drive them to practices that produce far less, don't you? The free thing on Sunday produces more on more dimensions than almost anything else you can do as a parent. You don't have to believe anything. You just have to take them. Now, I would add this, that if you go in as a non-believer to make sure your kids are hearing the right stuff, the odds are you're going to hear the right stuff too. And the odds are that the more you're exposed to it, the more at least you're going to give it an opportunity to try to maybe work in your own life. Because the one thing you can't take away from this is to let the church do all the work, because it can't. Having your child on 1 hour a week, maybe 2 hours a week at most, is not going to produce these results without a little bit of it being at home from you. So take it for what it's worth. I'll post the link to this post from this guy named Clint Teeples and let you read it and digest it for yourself when we upload everything to a podcast coming up a little bit later on today. I just think it's fascinating stuff, showing again that all of the statistics are pointing exactly towards what we have always known kind of instinctively, that the Bible really does build character and make a difference in people's lives, especially when you get them started young. So very good stuff, and we'll continue with this kind of thought coming up a little bit more. If you want to chime in, we would love to hear your thoughts about this post. 888-901-5454, 888-901-5454. We'll look forward to taking your phone calls. You can also email us. Steve@salemmedia.com is the address. And when we come back, we're going to be joined by our buddy Vikki Parker. She is someone on the front lines of the pro-life movement, and we're going to talk about this recent Supreme Court case that came down, the decision anyway, that came down over the weekend, and talk about the ramifications of it. It's all coming up next. Stay with us. Okay, welcome back. It is the Steve Marston Show. We are here live on a Tuesday. Happy to have you with us. And again, we'd love to take your phone call, 888-901-5454, 888-901-5454. And it's time to welcome in a special in-studio guest. We thought you were going to be on our video link, but you are here in person, which is even more awesome. It's Vikki Parker. She is just on the front lines of the pro-life movement, and she has just keeps her ear to the ground to everything going on. And she's kind of my go-to whenever some kind of pro-life news breaks, because over the weekend, I don't know whether they were just kind of burying it or what, but it seems like they released that Supreme Court decision about pregnancy centers, I think Saturday, or at least late Friday night. I heard about it on Saturday, and I thought, okay, I got to get Vikki on to talk about it, because I'm not exactly sure. Now, I know this was a win, but I'm not exactly sure how it all fits together. So that's why I wanted to bring you on.
Yeah, well, so you're talking the Pennsylvania.
Yes, the Pennsylvania. Yes.
Yeah, so the one in Pennsylvania, what they have done, and they've had 3 across the United States. I think there's one in California, there's one in Pennsylvania, and another state, and I can't remember which one it is. But so their deal is that they wanted to stifle the pregnancy centers from being able to do abortion pill reversal, anything that we do, basically. I mean, they just look for something. It doesn't really matter where it lands. They're just after something. But we did have a good win. It was a great win that happened actually over the weekend that was able, where they sided with the pregnancy centers, and that they were not allowed to do what they did. Like, I'll give you for example, what they said in it was the First Choice Women's Pregnancy Center, and this is what Jarrell Godsey with Heartbeat International said. He says it's a serious threat to the pro-life movement and to the First Amendment, which was halted this last week. Supreme Court unanimously ruled in favor of first choice women's pregnancy centers, affirming that Christian nonprofits do not forfeit their constitutional rights simply because their beliefs don't align with those of powerful politicians supporting anti-Christian ideologies.
And hey, let me just stop you right there. You said a unanimous decision.
A unanimous decision.
That is a big deal in a pro-life case.
Well, we've had several, Steve. We've had more than just that one. We've had, just with what happened with the abortion pill as well this week, and how that's went one way back to the other way, and so on. This has been big. Yeah. So that New Jersey Attorney General targeted this first choice of its religious and pro-life views. Now, when you, and I want people to understand this, if you target a pregnancy center on their religious beliefs and their pro-life beliefs, I need the churches to understand you ain't safe. You're not safe. You need to understand that you are not, no matter where you're at, what state you're in, if you're red state, blue state, whatever, you are not safe, because if they could have won that, not only would it have targeted pregnancies and really would have hurt us across the states, all the way across the states, it would have really done some damage, because if they win one with that, guess what happens? They're like, oh, if we can shut them down and they're Christian, guess what else we can shut down? They're coming after every Christian, every church, no matter where we are.
Yeah.
And no matter what profession we're in, if we're in pregnancy center work or if we're in a church, it doesn't matter. So all that's to say, even more reason for the churches and the pregnancy center, the churches to understand the pregnancy center is a right hand of their ministry. It's the mission of their ministry. So if you have a pregnancy center in your town, that pregnancy, you need to get lined up with them and support them and help them, because when cases like this, and they won't stop. They did one way back and a few years ago, in California, and they was going to make us, had they won that in California, they was going to make all of the pregnancy centers have a sign in our front door and by our window reception area where it says, here's where you can go get an abortion.
Really?
Yeah, but guess what? Nothing was said about that. They, in turn, had to put in their window, here's where you can go get help, alternative help at pregnancy centers.
It's unbelievable.
So it's forky tongue.
It certainly is. Vikki Parker is our guest, and again, she is a pro-life advocate, and I wanted to bring her in to talk about this most recent Supreme Court ruling that ruled in favor of pregnancy centers to be able to continue to do what they are doing. Because I think you're right. They don't ever stop. It's always victories mean for us usually a chance to exhale, but they don't ever stop the other side from coming back, because to them this is a huge issue. This is almost their, I hate to say it like this, but it's almost their religion. It's almost their God, which is the craziest, most demonic thing you can even think of.
Right.
But they feel about it like we feel about Christianity. Yeah. It's crazy.
It is. But you hit the nail on the head. It is demonic, because that is their religion.
Yeah.
That bottom line. And I don't care if someone's listening, they're going like, oh, but I'm a Christian and I believe. Well, go back to your Bible. Yeah. That's all I got to say. Go back to your Bible. Now, this is so important that you understand that a whole time, like when Roe, for example, when Roe was going to be overturned, they knew there was a really good possibility Roe was going to be overturned. Now, the church was going like, no, it'll never be overturned.
You know what? I was there. I'll be honest. I thought never.
See, I wasn't. I stood up for 25 years and said, y'all watch and see what happens. Roe will be overturned. I didn't know if I get to see it. I just knew it's going to be overturned, because biblically it really stands true that when Jesus takes over,
that's right.
There ain't going to be no killing. There ain't going to be killing his babies. So they were planning. They had Plan B already. So what happened was, when Roe was overturned, their Plan B was the pill. Mm-hmm. And so
because it was ready to go.
It was ready to go. They'd already tested some, like kind of down here. They'd already thrown it out there a few years. If you watch them, they'll tell you what is coming, But you got to pay attention to what they're doing. So when that happens, they were ready to roll out the abortion pill and send those pills in the mail. They done had it all figured out. They started out with telehealth and then went from telehealth to they're just mailing them. You don't even have to. I mean, it was nothing. And it doesn't matter whether your state has got it banned or not. They're going to do it anyway. So if they can win, pregnancy centers know up front. ADF, Alliance for Defending Freedom, defended this case, and some others, and so if they know that they can get in there, and they can attack, but what the pregnancy centers, what they do not comprehend. Even those that call themselves Christian, they do not comprehend. Jesus is not going to be mocked.
Yeah.
He is not going to step down off his throne for them or nobody else. And so he will stand firm and determined that they will not win. So, go for it, but you're not going to win it. And I don't know what you're going to lose in the long run, but you are going to lose something. Yeah. So if we could if people would get that in their mind, they're always going to come around. But faith-based nonprofits must have the assurance that sensitive donor records, that was part of it, will not be seized simply because their mission is unpopular. Now, here's the thing I said about this whole thing. I said, well, if they win, then we do a countersuit and we go like, okay, then you got to give us yours.
Yeah.
Are your people okay with telling everybody that they give to Planned Parenthood? I bet there's probably some churches and people in church probably don't want us to know about that. So what's good for the goose is good for the gander is what I always say.
I think so too. I mean, having a balanced like that is better than nothing. But yeah, I mean that is so. That opens up such a can of worms to be able to take somebody, no matter what they're giving to, and be able to take those records and seize those records and potentially go after those people.
Well, not only that, but let's take it a little bit further. Let's take it to a nonprofit like, let's say it's Heifer International or something like that. Just a general. I mean, it's not got maybe a religion one way or the other, but. You take it to a corporation like that, they should be fighting for us.
Yes.
Because, if we get hit, baby, you're coming down too.
That's right.
So any nonprofit. So pregnancy centers have got to be free to work and do the work that they faithfully have done for decades, but they keep coming against us. We're the ones that freely, without cost, go in and we work with women at their most dire point of need, and we don't tell them what they have to do. They get to choose what they do.
Which is the ultimate irony, because the other side talks about pro-choice.
Exactly.
And they don't offer a choice.
No.
You guys and the pro-life side does.
Yeah. We give them all three choices. They only got three. They got 25. They only got three. And we tell them the truth about all three repercussions. Now, am I going to sit there and go I'm praying. I'll be honest with you. I just tell them I'm praying, baby, that you choose life. I do, because I know that's going to be better. I know what you're going to be like. I know what your baby's going to be like. All of that things. I'm not telling you, do you have to parent the child? No, but you have three choices. One ends, and you'll never. It's just devastating. And so the others, it gives life.
Yeah. And Vikki Parker is our guest, and she runs a bunch of pregnancy centers around the state of Arkansas, and she's an expert in the pro-life movement here, not only in our state, but really she keeps her ear to the ground on everything that goes on. So I wanted to have her on to talk about this, because the one thing that a lot of times the ladies don't know is when you talk about abortion and thinking what's the best way to say this? This is a proposition that we're done. It's go in, one quick little procedure, and you're out, like having a tooth pulled or something.
Exactly.
And it's so far from that. And I'm sure that's the one thing you've got to continually educate on, because it will scar that lady for the rest of her life.
Absolutely. And the dads.
Yes,
there's
and the
dads that are
suffer
just as bad. Now, here's the interesting thing about that is that that the pro-abortion movement, I will not call them choice because they don't give them choices, but the pro-abortion movement, what they do is they want them to believe that it is a one and done. It's simple. It's no big deal. It's not that much difference than what they experience on a monthly basis or anything like that. You ask a woman who's went through it. You ask it because so I want to make it clear for our audience that what that pill, for example, let's just talk about it for a minute. What that pill, those two pills, it's more than two pills actually, but two different kinds of medication. Both of those together, what happens is it puts a woman in her home, it puts a woman in her bathroom, or a hotel or somewhere like that by herself. Right. With no medical care whatsoever. But let me take you a step further, because actually, not even through telehealth do they do all of them. I mean, if someone ends up they end up with somebody on the other end that may or may not be a doctor even. They may have an RN sitting there or something. But so what happens is when they do that and they talk to them, there's no examination, and let me tell you why that's important. There must be an examination, because that examination there needs to be a urine test, not over the counter. It needs to be a medical urine test that, like what the doctors use in their facilities. It needs to be that medical test that's going to give a higher percentage of being correct, either a positive or a negative. Because there's been many times that you can get false positives and false negatives through the other. Okay, but then from there, we've got to go in and should always, for a woman that is listening today, if you have a daughter, if you have a granddaughter, if you have aunt, sister, whatever that's listening today, I implore you that do at least that, because that ultrasound will tell if that baby is in the tube or if it's not in the tube. And pay attention. Roughly 25% of all pregnancies end in miscarriage. Well, number one, she could miscarry. Why rush? Why take pills that's going to hurt? You could hemorrhage, all kinds of stuff that happens. Why take that when it's possible. It's easier to get over a miscarriage than it is an abortion. But that ultrasound tells us, is that baby in that tube or not? Because whether or not she takes those abortion pills or not, Steve, I want to make you understand that those pills can onset hemorrhaging from that tubal pregnancy.
And that's something the other side, who is so far pushing this.
And love women.
That say they love women and they want this to be an option. They do not provide any of that, what you just said.
Absolutely.
Zero.
They just want them to, it's like a killing mode. I've never seen anything like it. It's almost like fire ants, you know, when you think about stepping on fire ants. It's like they're massive, and all they care about is killing that baby. So can we move just a minute over to the...
We got about 60 seconds left.
Okay, so real quick, we had a hand down from the Fifth Circuit to ban the first pill. Now, this is what's important. The first pill. Okay, those two pills go together. If they ban the first pill, then what they're already planning to do is to push the FDA to allow them only to do the second pill. If they do the first pill right now, we are able to go in there with and do a abortion pill reversal. If they take away that first pill only, I do not know why they didn't do it both. That's so I don't know if they weren't informed, but that is crazy, because the first pill, there'll be a chance for that mother to change her mind. The second pill, not.
Yeah. Vikki, it's always a pleasure. So educational and so informative when you join us to talk about these issues. We'll just keep praying.
Yes.
You keep fighting the good fight, sister. We're there behind you all the way. Vikki Parker, everybody. More of the Steve Marston Show coming up.
Why was Jesus put on a cross?
To pay for our sins.
Because that's how Romans crucified.
Okay. Welcome back. It's the Steve Marston Show. So glad that you are joining us. And we did have a wonderful conversation. Boy, Vikki Parker just brought it, didn't she? I mean, she was loaded for bear today, and we're so thankful for that. And if you missed that interview, or at least part of it, you want to listen to it all, tons of great information just cram-packed into that little time frame. You can do so when we upload everything to the podcast coming up just as soon as we're finished here live on the radio. It is Tuesday, and we would love for you to join us. You can send me an email, steve@salemmedia.com, or you can call us 888-901-5454. Just kind of checking out some of the other things that are going on around. This is kind of cool. I don't know if you're familiar with Dude Perfect, but Dude Perfect is a YouTube channel where there are these guys that all do these kind of extreme kind of sports and do just this kind of outlandish, kind of fun, big kind of things. And they have a line of merchandise at Walmart and different places like that. Well, all of the guys are Christians, and they are coming up with their first ever Dude Perfect Vacation Bible School curriculum. That'll be next year, and the full details are coming out a little bit later on in the month, but they announced today that it'll be a Dude Perfect VBS with the theme being all in. Listen, if you've never seen Dude Perfect, they're great for your kids to watch. They're just a lot of fun, and especially the boys will just love them. Girls will too. I mean, I'm not trying to be like that, but for sure the boys will think that they're really cool because they're a bunch of big kids is what they really are. Let's see. Other things happening. Headlines here. Oh, Chris Tomlin is going to be the featured performer at Rededicate 250 at the Washington Mall. This is this big deal that President Trump is doing to kind of rededicate the nation to one nation under God. And there's going to be several pastors that speak, several musicians, but Chris Tomlin's going to be kind of the featured artist. So that's cool. I mean, I don't know of anybody else that can fit the role of a worship pastor for an event like that better than Chris Tomlin. So look forward to that. Let's see. Oh, we had this a couple of weeks ago. It was a story involving Lee Strobel. You remember the guy from Case for Christ. We played you a little video clip of a podcast that he was on. He was talking about this new documentary that's coming out called The Story of Everything. Basically, how they interviewed not only creation scientists, but scientists who would consider themselves atheists. And they talked about how the universe came to be and how it had to be intelligent design. There's just really no other way to describe it. Well, according to Rotten Tomatoes, which for a long time was the standard, and I think still is, of critics and audience, determining how good these feature presentations are, 95% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. So a lot of people liking it. It's in theaters now, so you can check it out. Again, it's called The Story of Everything. It's a documentary film that Lee Strobel, he didn't put it together, but he features a very big part in that as well. Let's see. This was kind of cool too. Forrest Frank, who is one of the biggest names in Christian music, he has just this kind of lighthearted, fun, kind of laid-back style. He's a surfer guy, so he's kind of got that vibe. And he raps a lot and does some hip-hop kind of sounds. And so the kids are all digging him. They love him. And he has come up with a challenge. The kids love the challenges on the TikTok and on the Instagram. They love being able to, whether it's a new dance or some kind of other thing, just some kind of challenge. And all these things go viral, and people just love them. So, I'm not in the demographic. It goes, I'm like, yeah, whatever. But it's not for me. It's for the younger ones, right? So Forrest Frank throws out this freestyle challenge. And if you don't know what freestyle is, it's basically where you make up lyrics on the spot to a song. So Forrest started the song, had a little hip-hop beat behind it, and then left this like gap open for his fans and people to just kind of add to, right, and do the freestyle part. So of all people, it was Donnie Wahlberg. Now, Donnie Wahlberg was in the New Kids on the Block 1,000 years ago, and of course now is a huge actor, and he's married to Melissa McCarthy. I can't think of her name. Jenna McCarthy. I was going to say Melissa McCarthy, and I knew it was the wrong McCarthy. And so she's in this video as well. And here's Donnie Wahlberg doing the Forrest Frank challenge. Watch this.
Jesus is the king and he's alive.
So there's Forrest at the top left, and Jenny and Donnie talking like she's convincing him to sit down and do it. So he does. She pulls the microphone to him, and here we go. Here's Donnie Wahlberg.
He's coming back. How could you ignore the math? Jesus watched every sin in my past. He just cleared every step of my path. So I must do everything that he asked. Obey the Son so I don't feel the wrath. His love is steadfast, so I pray and I fast. Read scripture like Acts, read scripture like Acts. Facts, yo, you better read that one back. Homie, you better play that one back. Haters keep hating, debating these facts. Debaters be shaking and breaking like glass. They thought he was dumb because he took his last. But Jesus, he won because he got the last laugh. Yo, he's coming.
Jesus is the king and he's alive.
Back.
How about that? Donnie Wahlberg still got it. Wow. And I used to make fun of Donnie Wahlberg just because he was in a boy band, but he was like the tough guy. He was the bad apple of the boy band. It was like, come on. You're sitting there dancing and everything. But this is good. I take back pretty much everything bad I ever said about Donnie Wahlberg. I'm kidding. I take it back at all. I take it all back. Okay, so that's fun. That's good stuff. Oh, when we come back, I will tell you about our ministry of the month that we're teamed up with Faith Talk 99.5 and AM 630 The Word to offer you some free resources from Greg Laurie and A New Beginning. We'll talk about that coming up. We've got the best video on the internet today for you and Faith Between Our Ears. It's all next. Don't move. It's the Steve Marston Show, and we're back before you know it. All right, here we are on this Tuesday, Cinco de Mayo, and here's the resource that I was talking about last segment. Lennon, Dylan, Alice, and Jesus, a spiritual biography of rock and roll by Greg Laurie. He is the pastor and teacher on the program called A New Beginning that you hear every afternoon at 12 o'clock on AM 630 The Word in San Antonio, and every morning at 10 a.m. on Faith Talk 99.5. It's the ministry of the month, and we want to give you one of these books. Just head to whichever station's website, am630theword.com or faithtalk995.com, and you can register to win this book. We're going to give away multiple copies throughout the month of May, so get that entry in soon. Faith Between Your Ears comes from Hebrews chapter 12. Pursue peace with all men and sanctification, without which no one will see the Lord. That's our verse. We want you to memorize it, do whatever it takes to do that, and we'll work on it again coming up tomorrow here on the Steve Marston Show and all through this week, so we can have that not only in our heart, but right there in between our ears, knowing God's Word. All right, we like to close things up every day by finding the funniest video we can come across, or at least an inspiring video. This one fits in the first category, of funny. It's John Christ, and we thought it was good for Cinco de Mayo. Here's his mom ordering in Spanish at a Mexican restaurant. Let's watch.
To a Mexican restaurant, it's a true story, a Mexican restaurant after church, and my mother announces in the car that she will be ordering in Spanish. And I said, do not do that, okay? That is a terrible, why not, John? I want to be immersive in the culture. I was like, well, we're at Chewy's, so. These are white high school dropouts, okay? No. These kids don't speak English or Spanish, okay? Yo quiero. I go, no, mother, no. There's no needs to be coming out of your mouth. It's a cultural experience. We're in between a cycle bar and a Panera. Okay, there's no. I want to do it, John. Why can I do it? And this is what I told her. I go, okay, Mom. She's like, why can't I order in Spanish? I go, what other ethnic restaurant would that be acceptable for you to do? Here we go, Duluth. All right, yeah. See, y'all got nervous. I know, y'all got nervous. Oh no, yeah, that's how y'all are, and that's what makes y'all great. No, I said, what other ethnic restaurant would that be appropriate to do? You wouldn't walk into a Chinese restaurant. Oh, I have the wonton soup. You wouldn't. No, I'm agreeing with you. You wouldn't. Oh, I have an egg roll. You would not. And you would never do that. Listen, before you get all offended, white people, okay? How mad would you be if you were sitting at a Cracker Barrel? Some Latino guy sat next to you and go, I reckon I'll get some biscuits and a sweet tea.
So true. I love it. That's John Crist. Happy Cinco de Mayo, everybody. Thanks to Vikki Parker for joining us. And again, if you missed any of today's program, it's going to be uploaded as a podcast that you can subscribe to straight to your phone coming up here in just a few more minutes. Tommy, thanks a lot for you for a job well done, and most of all, thanks to you for listening and watching. Back tomorrow at 3 o'clock. Hope you are too. It's the Steve Marston Show. Adios.